Bless This Mess, Southern True Crime Podcast. I'm Kara here with Stu. Say hey, Stu.
Hey.
All right, so we are going to Georgia this episode.
That's
Stuart?
peachy.
It's peachy. We've been visiting Georgia a lot. I don't know, there's a lot of bad things happen in Georgia. But I'm trying to branch out to the states. It just seems like some of the really good ones are in Georgia because you guys are psychotic in Georgia. Anyways, so just to get us started, like us on the Facebooks and the Instagrams, and support us on the Patreon, patreon.com/blessthismesspodcast. We really appreciate everyone who has supported the podcast so far. And it's just like a tip. We see it as like, hey, send us a few bucks for entertainment purposes. Anyways, Stu hates all of that, so but it has to be done.
It goes without saying.
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else? Any announcements, Stu? Anything going on in our lives you want to talk about?
No, just take care of those things. If we hit 5,000 reviews on the Apple Podcast,
5,000.
Yeah, we're gonna make a baby. Give away a baby?
I don't know. Maybe give away for 5,000. Might have to give a baby away.
Well, how about a hearty thank you?
We have some. Handshake? We make really cute babies, so 5,000 reviews will give the 5,000th reviewer the baby.
No, we can't do that.
Why?
I'm sure it's against the law.
Oh, okay.
We'll be on a podcast.
We'll be on a podcast. Okay, I take that back. But yeah, leave us a review. That's important. We're just kidding about a rating, a review. We'd really, really appreciate it. So you can do it while you're listening to this podcast right now. At this very second, go and do it. Anyways, all right, so I guess we'll get into tonight's case. Dominique Leili, I'm going to pronounce it like that, Stu.
Okay.
Nique Gilmore was born January 11th, 1967 in Aiken, South Carolina. Were you there? Aiken for you, Stu.
Were they?
Yes. To Harriet and Doug Gilmore. She would grow up with two sisters, Amy and Catherine. Now, Dominique, who went by Nique for short, would marry and have her first child, a daughter named Alex, at the age of 25. Now, this marriage didn't work out, and they soon divorced. Now, on Valentine's Day 1998, her luck was turning, Stu. Mm-hmm. Love was in the air. And Nique married Matt Leili. They're very romantic. Valentine's Day wedding.
That's terrible. You never get married on a high day like that.
A high day?
A high day. A holiday.
Oh.
Or something like that, like a Valentine's Day.
What about Halloween?
No, you don't do that either.
You don't want to run a holiday for the rest of your life in case...
Yeah, in case that marriage don't work out, that holiday.
When I said that, I wonder if people get married on Thanksgiving.
Yes. I still laugh at you about that.
Yeah.
To your face.
Anyways, well, Valentine's Day, you can definitely pick that one. That's always February 14th. So they had high hopes for this relationship, and they got married on the day of love. Now, Matt, he was a New Yorker, and Nique grew up in the South. So they're opposites in many, many ways. Even their size was just looking at them, they're like, okay, these two are opposites. Nique was very petite. She was 5'3", and Matt was 6 feet 5 inches. And he could actually pick her up. Like you would see them together, and he could like pick her up in one arm, and she'd be, a couple feet off the ground.
Like a little rag doll?
Yeah. She was real small and short, and he was just like a really big guy. Together, they would have two daughters, Amanda and Rebecca, and they settled in Lawrenceville, Georgia, which is about 30 minutes outside of Atlanta. Nique was an accountant, and she was actually the breadwinner, while Matt settled on installing security systems. So his money wasn't always steady. He worked, but it wasn't a steady thing like an accountant would have. The marriage, it started out well. Nique even surprised Matt one time with a trip to Hawaii to renew their vows. Although we all know, Stuart, that renewing one's vows on the Real Housewives of any franchise is a death sentence for that marriage. They're going to get divorced. So I don't know if this was a good thing. We do know that? Well, I know that. Okay. And at least one other person out there listening knows that. So, Vicky Gunvalson? No. Woohoo!
Wow. Okay. No.
Anyway, someone out there knew the woohoo with me. Anyway, so they go on this trip to renew their vows, and to the outside world, everything was looking good. But eventually it all would go south. The couple had issues fighting frequently, and Nique, she actually had a really bad temper, and her and Matt would argue in front of their children as well as other family members. Their friends and relatives, they just kind of accepted, like, this is how this relationship worked. They fought, but they were still together. I had an aunt and an uncle, very similar. They would just, like, it was just how they spoke to each other all the time in front of everybody. They always were arguing stuff. And we all just assumed that that's just how they are. Which they were like that for a long time until they got divorced. And then he died of drug addiction. But,
wow. So that's how,
Just my
that's how
family.
this relationship has gone? We just act like we do in front of people and then
what are you No, this
add
was
on
like...
podcasts?
No, this was like... What are you talking about?
I don't know.
No, when I'm telling you they argue in front of people, it's like like it makes everybody else uncomfortable. Like just like we're arguing and mean to each other
About the dishes and the stuff at the house?
Just everything, the kids, everything. It was just uncomfortable to be around them.
Oh, God.
But you kind of just accepted it, like, oh, that's just their love language, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe not.
And then it all went downhill. So yeah, I don't know. So Nique and
So they're not listening to this podcast?
no, they're not listening to this podcast right now. Well, no, definitely not the one because he's dead. But
Oh.
anyways, so yeah, just wanted to clear things up. I'm not laughing about the uncle that passed away from drug addiction or whatever. He was like a terrible person to begin with. So I wasn't that close with him and everything. He was like no good. And then he became addicted to the drugs.
And then
Just
he
to be
died.
clear. And then he died. Drug addiction is no laughing matter, though, Stuart. It's not. It's not. I laugh when I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable right now. So, anyways, you can do your part now, Stu. Go ahead. I just want to make that clear. He was a bad person to begin with.
Okay. I don't know why you're
Now he's
telling
dead.
Me. You gotta justify that to everybody listening.
Okay, yes. I needed to clarify that.
To vent that out.
Yes.
Get that out there. Mm-hmm. Okay. On July 8th, 2011, Matt and Nique went out on a date. They're going to dinner. Then they're going to go to a movie around 11 p.m. I don't know.
Seems
who these
a little late to me.
A little late to me, yes. Mm-hmm. Starting at 11?
Yeah, I don't
No,
do
thank
that.
you.
No.
Ending at 11? Still no.
too.
No, thank you.
We're either going to dinner or a movie. We're not doing both. You pick. You got to pick. If it's a movie, it better be a matinee during the daytime, and then we go to dinner afterwards, and we're home by 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't want to be out that late.
And this is even like pre-kids. We're not doing that.
No.
When we first started dating, Stu, I was like, I'm not like a go-out person. And Stu's like, oh, yeah, we're going out. And I'm like, okay, what time? He's like, oh, we got to be there for around 9. I'm like, 9? We're starting at 9? You lost your damn mind. I thought we were going to be home by 9.
No, we were leaving the house at 9.
Yeah, we didn't do that too many times because that's not my thing at all.
No, because somebody's
I'm a grandma.
Yes. Now, Matt and Nique returned home at around 1 o'clock in the morning, which, a little late, like we said. Matt wanted to have sex with Nique.
Nothing good happens at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, evidently not for Matt because he wants to have sex, and Nique said no.
She's tired. You shouldn't have taken her to 11 p.m. movie.
No shit. I mean, you want to have sex, you got to be home by 11.
Yeah.
Maybe even sleeping after the deed by 11. So, obviously, Nique doesn't want to reciprocate this. Matt gets a little upset about it. In fact, he gets mad. So they fight on and off that night until about 3 a.m. I mean, it seems pointless to go from 1 a.m. to 3
if they've
a.m.
been
fighting about
drinking
sex, but
everything, then they're just going.
they went to a movie. How are they drinking?
Stuart, you don't think they came home and popped a few?
Well, maybe, but how are you going to get drunk that quick?
I don't know. Maybe they had some at dinner. Maybe they snuck a flask into the movie. I don't know.
You don't even know if they were drinking.
They didn't cover this in the court documents, okay?
You don't even know if they were drunk or drinking.
Okay, I don't.
You're just making shit up.
I'm just making shit up. I'm assuming if you have the energy to fight till 3 a.m., you've probably been drinking.
Okay. I don't think that's true, but okay.
Okay, whatever.
Well, at 3 a.m., Matt decides he's going to bed. In the first floor office. I guess he's like, well, I ain't getting none. It's been 2 hours of begging, fighting, whatever, and it's not happening. I'm going to bed in the office. At around 3 hours later, this seems off. Matt awakens and went to look for Nique, but he can't find her. He noticed that all her stuff was still there, the wallet, the phone, the purse, and her vehicle. Matt decides to call one of Nique's co-workers and asked if she had seen Nique, and she says no. Co-worker is kind of surprised that Matt would even call her because she said she didn't know Nique that well to begin with.
She didn't know that bitch very well. Why are you calling me?
Mm-hmm. Nique had been known to disappear when things got rough at home, so her initial disappearance didn't really cause any huge red flags at the time.
Yeah, I think Nique had a few, like I said, it was just her family themselves said this. Some anger issues
A little
and
spitfire.
yes, and a little bit. They said just looking at her, you wouldn't think that, but she was just like she could yell and she could
Pop off and start getting physical.
She could get mad. I don't know if she hit him or whatever, but she could get mad. I'm not gonna put that out there. I don't know if she hit him.
Oh, well,
anyways,
that was a question I had.
Anyways, but yeah, she could definitely get intense real quick. They said, and was known to kind of like I said, get upset and just storm off and then be MIA for a little bit.
Cool off, come home.
Well, on July 11th, 2 days after Nique was last seen, Nicky's father tried to call Nique hoping she would answer when Matt picked up. Upon finding out that his daughter was missing, so he's called, if that was confusing, he's calling Nicky's phone and Matt picks up the phone. So is that clear, Stu?
It's clear to me.
Okay. So he talks to Matt and he finds out that his daughter was missing. He contacted the police and he filed a missing persons report because Matt never had in these 2 days.
Way to go, Matt.
Yeah, when initially talking to police, Matt said Nique left her car, wallet, phone, and the only thing that she took was her toothbrush, which is like strange for him to say that. Why would you just take your toothbrush? We don't need money or anything, but we got to have those clean pearly whites. I got a dentist appointment on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
The family is starting to grow, very concerned, but they still have the thought in their mind that Nicky's just run off again and that she'd come back like she had before. But it is odd for her not to take her phone or anything. Like, that's not something she normally would do. The family began organizing search parties and police began investigating Nicky's life. Now, while the family is trying to organize these searches and put up flyers, Matt is causing problems the whole entire time. He wouldn't agree on what photo to use for Nicky's flyers or the content they plan to put on the flyer, none of it. He's just kind of roadblocking them like, oh, I don't want to use that photo. Oh, we don't need to write this. And they're just trying to finalize a flyer to put out. And he's just won't make a decision and keeps changing his mind like he's delaying it.
I would just go on without him.
I'm sure they did.
I got my own damn photos of my daughter. I'll put those
Well,
up.
at this point, they're trying to keep him in the loop because he's the husband. They just think that she ran off and she's just missing. They don't think anything nefarious. They're trying to keep him involved.
Well, I get that.
Well, I'm sure they did just make a flyer, Stuart. I don't know. You were so annoying tonight.
Me?
Yes.
On Saturday, July 16, 2011, the family organized another search party near the home of Nique and Matt. Over 100 volunteers were present, and the only person missing was Matt. Come on, Matt. You're just trying to be the prime suspect in this case, or what?
Well, maybe he was too distraught to look, Stu.
Maybe he was with his girlfriend and he didn't have time or something.
Maybe.
Around 9:30 a.m., two members of the search party come upon a mound of loose dirt and leaves. They see two bare feet sticking out of the pile. The body of a woman was lying face down in the pile, and she was nude. Nicky's family was informed as they were passing out leaflets with her photo on them. Investigators could not tell initially how Nique had died. There were no obvious gunshot or knife wounds. They did take note of the bottom of her feet, and they were clean, as in she hadn't been out there walking, indicating that she had been carried there and dumped.
Or maybe I was thinking also it could have been
shoes
removed after the whole stripped down after the fact. But the thing with Nicky's family, them finding her while they were doing the search, is the whole news and everything were out there, so they caught photos of them being told that they found her body and stuff like that. Because basically they went and pulled them away from the search and were like, hey,
we found a body.
Yeah.
We think it's her.
So it was pretty rough.
Now, an autopsy would later reveal that while Nique had no signs of a definitive cause of death due to decomposition, they could say that her death was not consistent with a natural cause, disease, self-inflicted injury, or violent accident. The medical examiner did find some injuries consistent with strangulation, but the decomposition was too bad to conclude that definitely. They said that her death was determined to be highly suspicious of homicidal violence, which does not sound good.
Yeah.
They also found that Nique had high levels of gamma hydroxybutyric acid, or GHB, which is more commonly known as the date rape drug.
Gamma hydroxybutyric acid, Stuart.
What did I say?
Not that.
I said GHB. They also found semen in her vagina and took a swab to send off for DNA testing.
Now that they've found Nique's body, detectives go back to speak to Matt, and he repeats his story about the last time he saw Nique. He tells officers that they were having trouble in the marriage, which everybody knew. So much so that while Nique was still just missing, Matt actually went and filed for divorce from her, Stuart.
Oh, Matt. This is
not
looking good.
No, she had gone missing on a Saturday, and he filed the following Wednesday. He also filed papers with the court to have her committed at this time. So he's going hard with the story of she got upset. She's doing her running off thing again. I'm done with this bullshit. I want a divorce. I want her committed. I need all this because she's crazy and I need to be done with her. So that's where he's going with this. That's his path he chose.
Well, I mean, if this is the 100th time that it's happened, yes. Well, we know it hasn't happened. But
it doesn't look good.
Well, I mean, it doesn't look good. I mean, if this is the case...
if she had actually ran off again for the 100th time and he wanted to file for divorce, but then she hadn't actually been murdered, she showed back up, then sure, that's fine. But this is what he was saying, is he was going to go ahead and file for divorce because he was just done with her.
Well, what I'm saying is it wouldn't look strange to the family because they're like, yeah, she kind of does this all the time. So
yes.
I understand.
Yeah.
But then she gets found and she ain't alive no more.
No. So, like we're saying, he was going out of his way to show police that Nique was mentally unstable person and that she'd run off before and he was just tired of dealing with her. And as you can imagine, detectives found this behavior very, very odd. Matt was at the top of their suspect list at this point. He continues to tell police that Nique had mental issues and was unbalanced. However, when talking to family and friends, they could not verify that Nique had mental issues and she had no medical record showing anything like that. And then soon after, Matt stopped talking to police and obtained a lawyer. So he was saying she was like clinically mentally unstable. And they're like, okay, she had some anger issues and she'd run off. But she wasn't like some mentally ill person that needed to be committed.
Or medicated.
Yeah, she just, yeah.
Never been diagnosed with anything.
And everything like that. And they said she wasn't like that type of mentally unstable to where you would want to put her in an asylum or something for it. So,
oh, no, I would think you would have to be worse off than just running off.
Yeah, getting mad at your husband and leaving for a couple of days does not qualify you as being mentally unstable.
Detectives start speaking to Nique's friends and family, and they state that the marriage was terrible and that they believe Matt was abusive. A co-worker recalled seeing injuries on Nique.
Nickery, dickory, dock. The mouse ran up the clock. We've been watching too much Cocomel.
We have been. Now, the co-worker recalled seeing the injuries on her that she tried to cover up. Family members said Nique had told them she planned to leave Matt and that he had threatened to kill her if she did. Now, like we said, Nique was making most of the money in the relationship, so Matt would have been on the outs financially, but I don't know if that would have been enough for him to...
Well, if you're abusive, though, it's more of a control issue than
financial
anything
issue.
Else, yeah. Because he would have still probably got some money from her, I would assume.
I would assume. Now, they go back through police records and find that on June 28th, 2011, just 3 weeks before the murder, Nique called 911 saying her husband refused to let her leave the house. You can hear on that phone call Matt saying that Nique is just throwing a temper tantrum and that they don't really need the police at the house. Police do come to the residence, but by that point, they had calmed down and no action had been taken or needed to be taken by the police. Now, home surveillance video shows Nique sitting on the back porch when she never even looks up at the officers while they're there.
Yeah, she has her back to him the entire time. She's kind of like sitting with her legs crossed, just like with their back almost thrown. It almost looks like a temper tantrum.
Yeah. I mean, she is known for temper tantrums, so. She had a packed bag, and after the police officers left, she decided she was bolting from the house, so she left too. She only comes back the next day when Matt had their 12-year-old daughter Amanda call Nique and ask her to come back home.
Which this is manipulation on the father's part. He shouldn't be involving the
mother shouldn't be throwing a temper tantrum and leaving.
Okay, Stuart, we can't victim blame right now.
Oh, this is true.
We're going to get in trouble. No, but you also shouldn't be bringing in the children to make... He made her call because Nique wouldn't pick up the phone for him, and so he's using his daughter to get through to her.
Yeah.
Which isn't fair for the children either, so.
How much have you had to drink?
I haven't had... Stuart, I've had one or two. Jesus Christ.
Now, the call was recorded, and Amanda says, we need to go on vacation, and we need to save this family.
I mean, what 12-year-old says that? Save this family?
Evidently somebody that's being recorded. Another weird thing that happens is a memorial service and funeral were planned for Nique after finding the body. Matt, Amanda, and Rebecca did not attend.
Yeah.
So
there's a breakdown in the family starting to happen over this. After finding Nique's body, they executed a search warrant on her home where they seized computers and other electronic devices all around the house. Now, Matt, like we said, he worked in security and he was a little bit cray-cray too. So he had installed a security system, which is to be expected, but he was a bit obsessed with them. All in all, he had 19 security cameras at the home, as well as numerous recording devices around the house, and a server to hold all the data.
I got about 24 I set up here. So.
Oh God, I didn't know about that.
Oh, well, no, I didn't.
And he has recording devices like where people wouldn't know that they were being recorded. So we'll get into that. We'll get into it. So Matt had also admitted to police that he had hid recording devices in Nique's purse and car and put a tracker on her cell phone as well as her car. So he's possessive at this point and controlling. He claimed that he did that as he was afraid she would have a mental break and run off and hurt herself. Again, he's playing up the whole she's mentally unstable. The cameras were on the interior as well as exterior, and one was even pointing at the couch. So if you were watching TV, you had a camera facing you. So, I mean, it's like you didn't watch that, but there was a show on was it Bravo or
whatever.
Anyways, it was called The People's Couch, and they used to talk about reality shows and everything. That it was a great show, but they got rid of it. But now they have for 90 Day Fiancé, they have I forgot what it's called. 90 Day Fiancé. Pillow Talk. They have Pillow Talk.
Yeah, there's like 50,000 people.
I know there are, but now they have Pillow Talk, and so then they talk about the 90 Day Fiancé. But anyways, it's basically like that, but just all the time in your home. So they made Alex, that's the older daughter of Nique from the previous relationship and the previous marriage. They made Alex very uncomfortable. So at the age of 16, she actually moved out. Sorry, we had to pause there for a second. I was getting distracted because there was an actual mosquito flying into my face. And our mosquito hawk from a previous episode
is no longer here.
It's no longer. Not due to anything we did. He was hanging around the house for a couple of days, but he's apparently gone on to his great reward. Maybe Jinx killed him. I don't know. Anyway, so when reviewing the camera footage, the last time they see Nique is just after midnight, the night that right after they returned home from their date. She walks up the stairs and she sits down to smoke a cigarette. Now after that, the footage just completely stops. You never see Nique leave the home. The last footage is of her on that patio. So you just see her go up, she sits out and smokes a cigarette, and then nothing. Because they're like, maybe we'll see her leave, maybe we get that, we kind of see something happen and nothing. So this is highly suspicious. So they bring Matt in to ask him about this, and he says that Nique had turned off the cameras when she leaves because she knows that it pisses him off. So she just comes in there and like power button, like boop. Nope. But they never saw her go in the house and turn them off anyways. It was literally her on the back porch, and then that was it. So that didn't really pan out for him. But anyway, so there is no footage until a few days later when I guess he decides to turn the cameras back on, or he notices it, I guess is what he told him. So on his personal computer, they find an interesting folder titled Fights. They open it up, and it's just a bunch of audio recordings. They played multiple ones, and it was of Matt and Nique fighting, and they're screaming at the top of their lungs. Or actually, Nikki's the one screaming at the top of her lungs. In all of the recordings, Nique is the one that seems like completely out of control, flying off the handle, and he's just calm and collected and everything, and she's just yelling and cussing at him. So you hear him on one of the tapes explaining that he is recording to share with the therapist, and Nique isn't having it. He's like, I'm just recording this. This is my reasoning behind this. I just want to share with our therapist. Like, he's like this, like, he's above board on all these things. He's because
he knows he's got some recordings going on.
Yeah, so he's like above board, and Nikki's over there going like, fuck you, motherfucker, and everything. And he's like, this is for our therapy sessions. And so he sounds really good on all the recordings. And Nique sounds really, really bad.
Unhinged.
Yes.
The DNA results come back from the swab that they took, and it is Matt's semen. And investigators find it suspicious, as he had said that they had not had sex that night. However, the deposit could have been made up to 72 hours before, so there's no way to confirm that, like, if he had drugged and raped her that night.
Yeah, it's one of those question things, because they were married, so they could have had sex 3 days prior, and he could have explained, oh yeah, we had sex the day before, though.
When she wasn't mad.
Yeah, she just didn't want to give it up that night.
The prosecutor also had issues with the GHB in her system, as it does naturally occur after someone dies, which is news to me.
Yeah, I didn't know that either whenever I was looking at the court documents.
I wonder what levels it comes in.
From what I understood in the court documents, it was still elevated to a higher level than... But it wasn't...
You would normally find.
But you would normally find. But, again, it's inconclusive because everybody's physiology is different, and they could argue it. It's not a surefire...
Their expert could refute your expert.
Yes.
Now, without enough evidence, they have to let Matt go, and they continue to investigate Nique's murder. Now, 6 months after the murder, Matt decides to pick up and move on to Vermont with his two daughters, and he left Alex behind.
Yeah, the one that hated him because he was recording her watching TV and stuff.
Yeah. And
Vermont, though, we had such a good time. If you live in New England, we
might come visit you again one fall.
Yes. I Stu had to make me leave.
Did I?
Yeah.
Make you leave where?
Vermont.
I thought we were
Vermont, New Hampshire.
I was ready to come home.
Oh, well, we were ready to come home. But like, I could have stayed up there all fall. Like it was. I'm sure. I heard the winters are brutal though. So.
Well, they're probably not for us.
They're probably not for us. But because we're already sitting at like 85 degrees here, like on a regular. Here in into February, March, it's fixing to go swimming and stuff. And so I hear the winters are brutal, but the fall, it's just I just loved every single thing. I love all the quaint stuff. I love all the different coffees and the little local restaurants with all the everything and the little shops and all the bookstores and all the national park, what are they? Are they national parks or national?
No, we went to historic places in Vermont. We didn't go. I don't think we went to a park until.
No, but I'm talking about like in New England.
Oh, in Maine.
No, what are those? What are all those historic sites, or what are? They're not. Or they're part of the national park system, but they're not national parks. Is that right?
Yeah, they're.
Where do you get your passport stamped?
Yeah, they're historic sites. Yeah.
Okay, the historic sites. We went to those. It was great. We went to Acadia National Park. We ate lobster rolls. We did it all. Did
the things. Yeah.
We did the New England thing. We went to Boston. Went to Bar Harbor.
Yeah. Had to bail out in Boston, though.
Yeah, we did have to bail out in Boston.
We got to the Freedom Trail a little too late in the day with two kids in a stroller.
Yeah. It was getting real crowded, and we were starting to panic. So, like...
It was getting a little sketchy down there in the afternoon, so we bailed.
Yeah, we did.
Anyway.
Don't come at us, Bostonites.
No, we liked it well enough.
We did. We liked it until it was just like we had the two small children and stuff, and it was just like there were so many people around. You know, when you start to panic in like big cities, I started to panic. I was like, someone's going to try to take one of these children. But it could happen anywhere. It wouldn't matter where we were. We could have been in Houston, or it didn't matter. If that many people crowding around, you start to get nervous when you have small children.
Well, we're not going to go strolling around downtown Houston either.
No, I'm not going to fucking visit Houston.
And it's Bostonians, not Bostoids or whatever.
Bostonites.
Anyway.
Is that not it? That's the disease Bostonians get.
I guess.
Is Bostonites. It's like a mite.
Yeah, it's a mite that grows in their hair or something, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. So, getting back to this case about fella moving to Vermont, which is not in Boston. The family was completely torn.
I know Boston is not in Vermont, Stuart. I'm saying
we traveled our whole road trip.
Okay, well, we went through the whole New England. We did it all.
No, we didn't do it all.
Okay, we did the main ones.
We did 4 states.
We did Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts. Anyways, we might have skipped a couple. I don't know, but we did the 4 big ones.
Well, somebody's going to be upset.
I know. Someone in Connecticut's going to be real upset.
We're in Rhode Island, and we're one of the big ones. Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. So the family is completely torn. Amanda and Rebecca fully supported their father. They were 9 and 12 at the time of the murder. Alex is obviously creeped out by this dude.
Yeah, I'm creeped out by him, and I never lived with him. I'm creeped out. You put a camera in front of me while I'm trying to watch Full House or something?
Yeah,
Come on.
I'm not your kid, and you're just watching me on camera.
Yeah, that's weird.
Weirdo. So Alex and the rest of Nikki's family believe that Matt killed her, and Nikki's mother, she even told Matt directly on the telephone, and he promptly hung up the phone and never spoke to her ever again.
Well, I mean, that's understandable.
Yeah,
but
you're accusing me of murder? What the hell? So there was nothing that the family could do to stop Matt from taking the girls, moving to Vermont, and basically cutting off contact with their
he's
nieces,
the parent,
et cetera, et cetera.
He's the only parent left. He's not being charged with anything. He hasn't been charged with child abuse or anything that they could put in a stop. They have no evidence that he killed Nique, so he's free to do whatever he wants. They're his children. He can take them wherever he wants. Though Nikki's family has no rights over them whatsoever. Moving on. Investigators have a feeling that Matt is the one that murdered Nique. They just don't have enough evidence to prove it at this point. So, which some would say this isn't the best way to go about policing. But they just know, like, they can tell he's a bad guy. So they go back through his personal computer, and they just didn't believe that it was only Nique acting irate on these recordings. Like, it's not a one-way street of her just being a bitch on here screaming at him and stuff. So as they dug, they uncovered deleted audio recordings. Now, in total, between the earlier recordings they found and the deleted ones, there were over 500,000 recordings that this guy had made.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, he's crazy. It took investigators a full year and a half just to listen to all of them. In the deleted recordings, it showed another side of Matt. He was instigating Nique, and she would start out very calm, just like wanting to talk to him or whatever about whatever issue they had, and he would just like push and push and push, which I can
relate to that.
I can relate to that. He'd push, and then all of a sudden she would go off. She just had enough. So she would start screaming, and that is when he would go in his like calm mode and be like, Nique, I'm just trying to do this for therapy. We just need to work this out. And these are the recordings that he put under fights because those are the parts he wanted police to find. Now, more disturbing audio was found. You can hear Nique actually screaming, telling him to get off of her. She's screaming, let me go and stuff like that. And she actually tells him, you're pinning me against the wall, and asks for someone to call 911. She's just screaming out, somebody call 911, because they do have their children in the house, So Nique is heard telling Matt she wants a divorce and that she's decided to leave him. Now, at one point, she does mention that they are $300,000 in debt and that the marriage is a disaster and that they are seeking counseling. Like, those are part of the recording. So it is true that they were seeing a therapist, but she had every intention to leave him at this point. I mean $300,000, is that like...
They're not even trying to be in debt at that point.
I wonder if that's a mortgage included. Like, that's...
I hope so.
Yeah.
Hope it ain't all credit cards.
She didn't do very good at counting. If that's $300,000 in debt. Anyway, so yeah, there's obvious money troubles. $300,000, because I don't know what an accountant salary is. Maybe if you're a partner, that wouldn't be a big deal, I guess. But
you can be a partner in an accounting firm.
Yeah, I think so, or whatever they're called.
No.
Yeah, you can be like a partner or whatever. I'm sure there's an accountant out there that's going to set us straight.
I'm sure
in a very, very
quick manner.
Yeah, in a very
about 10
harsh
minutes
review.
After this drops off.
Like, they don't even know anything about accounting. Anyway, so yeah, that's a lot of debt, and you can tell that the marriage is going nowhere. And he's obviously physically abusive. There's not video recording, but audio recording of this attack occurring.
Yeah, all these fights and him pinning her down and her screaming, and then he cherry picks what he wants out of it.
Yeah.
Thinks he's dumping the rest, deleting it, but...
They found it.
They found it. They really want to... The police really want to see the video from the night that... the last night that Nique was seen alive, where it gets cut off until she's found. And... Matt's like, well, that's not possible.
Yeah, because he's going with the thing like, oh, Nique went in and turned off.
She turned it off
because she's just a bitch, and she just doesn't want us. She just does this to make me mad and push my buttons and stuff, and this is what she's done.
Yeah, so there's actually nothing ever got recorded. So they bring in a forensic computer examiner, and he finds a log called cleanup, and it shows where somebody intentionally deleted the footage starting when Nique was standing on the back porch from that night she went missing until the day she was found. Now, it was a digital footprint of him covering up the crime. Even though they couldn't recover the actual video itself, they could tell that something was deleted.
And he would be the only part,
Yeah, that there was a footprint of data that had been deleted. And nobody else would have known how to do that or been...
Yeah, it's not like his 12-year-old daughter's going to go in there and delete it or anybody else. Why would anybody
accidentally deleted this specific...
just this specific time frame. And it also showed that he was lying about saying that Nique went in and turned off the cameras because it was a deletion, not a turning off the cameras. Yeah.
Now, with this information, they're finally able to charge Matt with Nicke's murder. On March 5th, 2015... Matt had returned to Georgia to go to a civil hearing over Nicke's life insurance policy.
Because he got to get that money, Stu. He's $300,000 in debt. He's got to get
that
money.
4 years later, and he still ain't got no money. When he arrived at the courthouse, he was arrested, and this is almost 4 years after the murder of Nique. On top of the murder charges, he was charged with 3 counts of eavesdrop and surveillance from prior years when he recorded Nique without her knowledge. I'm guessing Georgia's a 2-party state, not a single-party state as far as surveillance goes. Audio recordings.
I guess so, Stu. I didn't really look into that. But...
Some states, it's only 1 party.
Well, he definitely got in trouble. They were like, we're just going to throw... we know murder's the worst thing you could do, but we're going to throw these other charges on him just in case, throw the book at him.
Well, then that way they can have access to his computer, too. I'm guessing it gives them access to additional.
Well, they already had access to his computer.
I don't know. I'm guessing that they want to have the charge plus.
Well, plus, why would you not charge somebody of an asshole like this with everything you could? I mean, he still committed the crime, whether he murdered her. What if he gets off with the murder charges, but they're like, okay, but we still got you with the eavesdropping charges?
90 days suspended sentence.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, maybe the judge throws the book at him, Stuart.
Ooh, 120 days.
Oh my God! Shut up. Anyways, while in prison, Matt was recorded asking his daughters, Amanda and Rebecca, to create a YouTube channel proclaiming his innocence and the truth about what happened in their home. Now, the girls, they agreed as they completely believed their father and thought he was innocent of this. He didn't kill their mother and everything like that. The videos that they made were supportive of their dad, and they also attacked Nicke's family, which is their family too, I mean,
yes.
It's their grandmother, their aunts, their uncles, everything, or aunts, not uncles, but that side of the family. They said that Nicke's family was tormenting them and that they could not wait to have their day in court to face them and exonerate their dad so that he could come home. And these are their words. They also state that their mother was complaining about hearing voices and that they were telling her things. Now, these girls, it's not their fault. I mean, they're grown now. If they listen to this podcast, they're really going to hate us. But anyways, at the time, though, they were young and they were highly manipulated by their father.
Yeah, because they're impressionable.
Yeah, and he's telling them, there's recordings of him telling them what to say on this YouTube channel, and they're trying to help their dad, and they believe him and everything like that. And I mean, I don't know what their relationship was with their mother. Maybe it wasn't good. I don't know, but it's quite obvious that he's influenced these kids and had them do things that they probably wouldn't
they're starting
normally do with normal parents.
And they're starting up a YouTube channel basically supporting their dad and bashing their mom and that side of the family.
All right, so now that we've summarized that twice for you about the YouTube channel, Stu, would you like to continue on with the story? Would you like me to summarize it again, that girls were manipulated?
I don't know. Could you clear that up for me?
I think the girls were manipulated.
On January 25th, 2016, Matt's trial began. The prosecutor laid out the theory that when Matt and Nique got home, Matt slipped Nique some GHB that caused her to become drowsy and much weaker when fighting back than normal.
And she's already tiny.
Yeah, compared to him, she's...
Yeah, he's 6'5" and she's 5'3". I mean...
Yeah.
He could just, put his arm, his elbow on her head or whatever and just hold her down. But she's feisty, though. She's a feisty one. He's one. Yeah, he was like, I can't handle this thing.
So he did probably need to drug her up a little bit. So then he had sex with Nique in her impaired state. After this, they believed that he either suffocated or strangled her, but because of the decomposition, can't talk tonight, of her body, it was unclear the manner, but they knew that this was one of the most likely means of murder because she didn't have any other physical evidence. No broken bones, no gunshot, no stab.
Well, this is similar. Remember the Candace Person case that we covered?
Right.
They they didn't have it. They couldn't rule it strangulation because they didn't have an actual ligature mark, but they believed that she'd been they had to asphyxiation, which was a more broader term, and they believed it was because someone put an elbow or an arm across her neck, but it didn't actually cause any deep bruising or anything.
And it didn't.
And so with
break
Nique,
anything in the neck or anything. So.
And with Nique, there was the decomposition, and then there was also additionally they just couldn't see any type of bruising or ligature marks. So they're assuming that's what he just basically leaned on her neck until she stopped breathing.
Yeah, I mean, he could have done anything to her. If the GHP actually knocked her out, he could have just held her nose and mouth until she actually asphyxiated too. But since they couldn't tell, they just had
They just have to go with whatever theory they have.
And that's what they're presenting to the jury. They also brought forward Matt's ex-wife, who testified that Matt had become physical with her as well during that marriage. He was pushing her down. He was pinning her. He was basically doing everything that they heard Nique saying he was doing on the recordings that she didn't know she was on, that they recovered from his computer. She's like, yeah, all the things that he's done in those recordings, he was actually doing to me as well.
Which, thankfully for the ex-wife, they did have those recordings of Nique because, some people will just dismiss the ex-wife and be like, oh, she's
mad.
She's just mad and making things up. But there's audio proof of what he had done to Nique, and then there's another woman backing up and saying, I escaped this guy,
or
but
she
this
heard
is what
about
he did.
these tapes. She's like, yeah,
Oh,
he did
Stuart,
that to me
shut
too.
up.
What?
No, it gives her much more, unfortunately, credibility. Unfortunately, you kind of need that because people will just dismiss the ex-wife as being bitter or whatever, yeah.
Now, for the defense, they bring to the stand Amanda and Rebecca, who are now 17 and 14. They both
Still very young.
Still very young. They both testified that they never once saw their dad hit their mother. Matt did not testify in his own trial, telling the judge he was too emotional to testify.
I mean, after watching the Alec Murdaugh thing, maybe it was
you don't even have to give a reason why you're not. You just I ain't testifying.
Yeah.
On February 5th, 2016, the jury went into deliberations, and almost immediately they had a unanimous vote. It took just 3.5 hours for them to come back with a guilty verdict.
That's the same thing with the Alec Murdaugh.
All counts.
The eavesdroppings too, Stu, that you were poo-pooing about a while ago.
I was poo-pooing about it, and here we go. On February 22nd,
it's never good for the defendant if the jury comes back in like a couple hours.
No.
Basically, they were like, well, we wanted a snack and a Coke, so we took an extra
free meal in.
Yeah, we took an extra hour and a half just to eat and relax because we were just like tired of being in front of the cameras or whatever. And then we were like, okay, you can let us out now. I need a drink.
On February 22, 2016, the judge sentenced Matt to life in prison without the opportunity for parole, plus 3 5-year consecutive terms for the eavesdropping charges.
You see that, Stu?
I
it
guess
wasn't
it's
a
more
slap
than
on
120 days.
a probation.
Now, Amanda and Rebecca still believe their father is innocent and that he will be free one day. Right now, or as of the research on this case, they live with Matt's father, and they don't speak to Alex, their half-sister. Alex says she still loves them despite their thoughts. She believes that the girls have been manipulated by the father, and she wishes it would be different.
Yeah. So, Matt, he did file a motion for a new trial, which was denied. Surprise, surprise. They always seem to always be. And then appealed his conviction in 2019 based on ineffective counsel.
Wow, ineffective
and the fact
counsel.
that his ex-wife was allowed to testify. He's got ineffective counsel is always the go-to.
I've never heard of that one.
Anyways, okay, Stuart, you think you're so funny. He's laughing at himself right now. He thinks he's so funny.
I gotta get my dad jokes going.
Anyways, and then allowing his ex-wife, because they were saying that's something previous that happened, and why should it be allowed to be evidence? And
why should it be?
But it shows a pattern of behavior. But I know that they're real dicey on that because you get some things and they won't let you. They won't. The judge will be like, no, you're not allowed to bring that in.
It's
but it shows
like, Your Honor,
series.
he murdered 3 people already.
They're like,
and he's on trial for murder. No,
like,
we're not.
That has nothing to do with this.
That has nothing to do with this murder.
Yeah. So it did show a pattern of behavior, but the appeal was denied, and Matt is currently serving out his term in Telfair State Prison in McRae, Helena, Georgia. So if you're there, don't pick up hitchhikers.
No.
He could be mad. And he'll have a video camera in your face and
he-
an audio recording in your purse.
And he's 6'5", fellas.
Yeah,
so
he's 6'5".
Very noticeable.
He could just pound you into the ground. So, anyways, but that's our case for tonight. Poor Nique and her family. I feel bad that ripped the whole family apart. I feel really bad that her daughters don't. I don't know what their relationship was like that, so I can't say anything.
No.
Maybe they had a bad. I don't know. Maybe they had a bad relationship and they were real close with their dad. But either way, he did murder their mom, so it's not good.
No.
It's not good.
I don't know how they would. I guess they're thinking that there's some stranger out there that did it.
Yeah,
something.
I guess they think maybe they probably
She
believe
wandered
that
off
she
and
wandered off because maybe they maybe had seen that behavior before, and so in their mind they're saying, yeah, they don't want to lose both parents, and so this is a way to not lose both parents. They still have their dad, even though he's in prison. So, anyways, but that's our case for tonight. Stu, do you have a y'all need Jesus?
Of course I do. Why
You need to
wouldn't
go
I?
look it up right now.
I need to print it out.
Okay, we'll just pretend that there's a ladybug flying in our face right now, and we need to pause and go take care of the ladybug. Stuart, are you ready?
What?
Okay.
Of course I'm ready.
Oh,
All right.
FYI, the ladybug was a fallacy. We did not actually have a ladybug in the room.
You think
Stu
they're
just
onto
didn't.
that?
I think they're on. Stu just didn't do his part.
I did.
He has very little requirements for this besides showing up and with drink in hand. And one of them is to find the y'all need Jesuses.
I found it. I just had to get back to it.
Okay, sure you did. Sure you did.
Well, I'm not even going to make you guess Florida, not Florida.
Why?
Because Florida man arrested while trying to
It's
warn...
in the title?
It's in the title. While trying to warn Space Force about the battle between aliens and dragons.
Well, that seems legitimate. I mean, I think that could be anywhere.
It could be happening.
Definitely a Louisiana man could come up with that shit.
He could.
I think you on a drunken night might have came up with that shit.
Yeah, that sounds more
You
like
just didn't do any follow through with it.
That sounds more like one of them New Iberia balls with the haircut on the meth.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Them fellas down from the Berry might come up with this.
Oh, yeah.
More than us. Now, according to military.com, a Florida man has been arrested after he was accused of stealing a pickup truck and driving to a Space Force base to warn the government about extraterrestrial and mythical creatures.
I mean, the only real crime he's committed at this point is stealing the vehicle.
Yeah.
You can warn the government about whatever theories you think are going to happen. I mean,
I
pay their salaries.
I would suggest you send an email or a phone call or something.
Even a certified letter would be, if you feel more comfortable with that.
Well,
to let them know they got it.
Well, I'm kind of not believing this guy's story. Because Corey Johnson, 29, was arrested. This is back in June or July last year, I believe. Was arrested Friday at Patrick Space Force Base by local deputies after he attempted to get on base, according to an arrest citation. He reportedly explained to authorities he was told by the president, through his mind, to warn the government there was U.S.
This would have been
aliens
President Joe Biden?
Yes.
Okay. For the
fighting
time
with
frame.
Chinese dragons.
Oh, wow.
Now, you would think if the president was telling him through his mind that he could just...
Do we know
he
that
could-
Joe Biden wasn't telling him through his mind, though, Stu?
We don't know. I'm just saying he could have told the Joint Chiefs, like, hey, this is happening.
A different medium to get this message across to the military, which he is commander-in-chief
Then
of.
through telepathically
Of Corey
to
Johnson, which is the
Mr.
most
Johnson.
basic bitch name I've ever heard in my life besides...
Joe Smith.
Yeah.
So Johnson allegedly took control of a Ford F-150 several days prior to arriving at Patrick Space Force Base.
Well, there was his first mistake. He took a Ford.
I know. Should have got that Tundra or something. At least something nice to ride in.
Yeah.
Platinum with the leather seats. Mm-hmm. Now, he didn't know who the owner of the vehicle was, according to local authorities.
Nor did he care, I'm
Nor
guessing.
did he care. He was on a mission. So he was charged with
From the President of the United States.
Yes. He was charged with grand theft of a motor vehicle. He also told authorities that the president had also instructed him to steal the truck.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know
Seems
why this
legit.
guy's even in jail. Now, Patrick...
Are we sure Joe Biden didn't actually
He might have.
ask him to do this?
He might have. Patrick Space Force Base is home to blah, 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 history. Just the history of Patrick's Space Force.
It can't be that historic. I believe it was only created a couple years ago.
Well, the Space
No?
Force, but the base has been there.
Oh, okay, but the Space Force is new.
It was being used as a naval air station during World War II. Later transferred to the Air Force, renamed Patrick Air Force in 1950, and used as the service's missile test center. After Space Force was officially designated in 2019, the installation was renamed Patrick Space Force Base.
I think it should be the Corey Johnson Space Force.
It should be, because he warned us against the aliens.
And the dragons.
And the Chinese dragons.
You know what he did? He probably got high and was watching Game of Thrones.
Or Space
and
Force.
And Aliens. And then watched a presser by Trump about the Space Force. And then it all just like went together. And he was like,
on Netflix.
Yeah.
And then he watched Alien versus Predator.
And
that's where he got the dragons and the aliens from.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
All right. Seems like your type of thinking. You could see where it could come about.
I see where it's coming from, yes.
Okay. Corey's starting to make a lot of sense to you.
That's what they want you to think.
Is that a quote from the movie?
That's a quote from Dribble, or whatever his name is, from King of the Hill.
Oh, okay. All right. Is that the end of the story?
That's...
Did he get arrested?
Of course, yeah. I said he got arrested.
Is he in jail?
I don't know if he's still in jail.
Oh.
Be on the lookout if you're... Now, this is where we were stomping around last year.
Yeah, we
Florida,
did go to Florida.
Because it's pretty near the Cape Kennedy and all that other good stuff.
Cape Kennedy? You mean Cape Canaveral?
Cape Canaveral.
Oh,
Kennedy Space Center. Cape Canaveral.
Anyways, all right. Well, thank you for that. Y'all need Jesus, Stuart.
You're so
with
welcome.
Your work that you put in.
It's 18 miles from the Kennedy Space Center, and it is home to Cape Canaveral Space Force Station and Space Launch Delta 45.
Okay.
I got them all mishmashed together.
Okay. Now we're going to end up having to go back to freaking Cape Canaveral.
Yes, we did. That should have been a 2-day trip, not a 1-day trip.
One day was enough. Anyways, all right. So that's our episode for tonight. And just a reminder, the Instagram, the Facebook, all the stuff. And yeah, and the Patreon. So I think that's it for us. Stuart, anything else?
Should there be anything else?
No, there shouldn't be.
This should probably be the end of this shit show.
All right. Well, I guess we will see you next time. Bye, everyone. Say bye, Stu.
Bye, Stu.
Don't you know it's bad luck to be superstitious?